everyone, my name is Micheline Lemieux. I am the president of the Aylmer Heritage Association. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you today to Aylmer se raconte, Aylmer tells its stories, a series of historic, intangible heritage video clips. Through these video clips, we will meet people from Aylmer who have stories to tell and want to share their past with us. The production of these clips was made possible with the assistance of le Réseau du patrimoine de Gatineau et de l'Outaouais and la ville de Gatineau. Our guest today is Georgie Bracken. Georgie was born in Aylmer, lived all her life in Aylmer, and loves Aylmer. She will talk to us about the beginning of St. Mark's Church, of the former Aylmer Agricultural Fair and the parades, and of how the Aylmer residents, francophones and anglophones, lived together in a friendly environment. I invite you to listen to her.
Back years ago, there was just St. Paul's Church. It was the French language church, but Father Lemage had a mass, one mass for the English people, and he also looked after them. He went into their homes, looked after them. He was a great priest. And one day my grandmother was sitting at her table and she said to my father and Edgar Coleman and to Neil O'Donnell, get out there and go see Father Lemage and get an English Catholic church. So they went to see Father Lemage and he helped them get names and go through the official business of getting a Catholic church. So then they got a priest, Father Welsh, J. Welsh. He's deceased. Most of the people I talk about are deceased. But anyway, Father Welsh came to Aylmer, and the Redemptorist Fathers across the road were very gracious. They let St. Mark's, because we didn't have a property, we didn't have a church, they let them use their facilities. Even the Catholic Women's League from St. Mark's had their dues over at the Redemptorist Fathers. And then within 2-3 years, we got the property across the street from the Redemptorist Fathers, and that's how St. Mark's came to Aylmer. I was the second marriage at St. Mark's. I got married at age 22, and I lived, my grandmother's house is right next door to St. Mark's. Mm-hmm. And I remember the construction, yes. The fire of St. Mark's, it was, they found it was a teenage boy, but he had problems. He was sick. And there was no legal problems or any of that stuff for the boy. But then we had to get our monies together, and the church had been all paid for. And we had to get our monies together to finish the insides again. It's nice now, but it's not as beautiful as it was originally. Where Adalou is now situated, it was the Gatineau Historical Society from, look up my notes, I think exactly, don't quote me, but I think it's 1870 till 1976, ran that whole concept. There was barns there, there was races, there was cattle, there was rides for the children, all kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And every September, it was the big fair. It was the Aylmer Fair, and it was run by the historical. Now, when they got out of it, what they did is the city got together and said, well, we have to do something. Now, exactly, I would have to read from my notes here. Roughly, what happened is the Rotary Club tried to take it over to help them, and they found it was just too much because the Rotary Club didn't have that many numbers of people. So a group called Adalou, which means Aylmer, Deschênes, and Lucerne, got together, a corporation, and they took over the property, 17 acres of it. And today you're seeing 2 rinks, you're seeing a baseball field, all the old barns are gone. The main barn itself was modernized, heated, sort of, and the bowling alley. All that 17 acres is covered in that. Oh, that was a fun time. That was when I was a young kid and teenager. All these old rides, Ferris wheel and kids' rides would come to town, and the ladies' churches would run there was an old barn as you came in, and they would run food and all kinds of things sell. And another barn had cows and pigs and dogs, and there was actual badges that they would get as winners. And in the center there was a gazebo with a little thing for horses to go around in. It was the big thing. They would come from Ottawa to see our fair. It would last about 4 or 5 days, yeah. It stopped in 1976 when the Agricultural Society people finished. They were all getting very elderly, and there wasn't too many members left. Okay, the parades were mostly the Agricultural Society that started it. The Lions Club, my father was the president of the Lions Club, and they thought, well, let's continue it. And it was a terrific parade. And then the Lions Club ran this parade every year. There was floats, and I was on one of them. I think I was all of 12 years old. We had a Barnstormers Club, and we won the prize for the best children's thing. But it was blocks and blocks long. It was great. We were on a wagon drawn by horses and this old canoe, and there was 6 of us all dressed up in old-fashioned, like we were supposed to be the original people coming to Aylmer way back before Aylmer was here. Okay, the Rotary Club were mostly businessmen, gentlemen that owned the hotels, like the Aylmer Hotel, the British Hotel, grocery stores. And the Lions Club were just ordinary people that lived in Aylmer that either worked at these stores or these hotels, or for the government across the way in Ontario. They worked basically, I have a list of things that they did, like the Rotary Club worked a lot with we didn't have health services in Aylmer then, and they would help people that had health problems. They would help people get to hospitals. They would help the students with bursaries for different schools. The Lions Club were the opposite. They were the recreational people. They backed all kinds of hockey teams for the kids and the adults. We had the Aylmer Amazons, the first softball girls team, and the Lions Club sponsored that, and my dad coached that. But we were very involved in recreation in Aylmer. I was always busy. I was a volunteer, but I worked. First of all, I started Montreal Life Insurance, then National Research Council, Public Relations, then I ended up on the Hill, worked for 2 members, Speaker of the House, and then I was in Staff Relations. So I spent my 18 to 55 years, but that was my background. I also started the Girl Guides at St. Mark's Church, 42 girls. Father said when I was 18, you were in the Girl Guides, I got 42 girls. So the second Aylmer Girl Guides, I started that. We did well with that. The girls all became leaders for the Brownies and the Girl Guides, and we started we were just a busy affair. And all these parades and all these things that the Lions Club and the Rotary Club, they always used the students from both English and French high schools, and they always used the Brownies and the Girl Guides. There was the French Girl Guides, the Guides, and the English Girl Guides. Boy Scouts, both English, French, everybody worked together with everything. I've been on a board of everything for Adaloo, the Symmes Museum, the Aylmer Heritage. So I kept myself busy, so I enjoyed everything. I'll tell you a secret. When I worked at the House of Commons, I would speak French to the blue-collar workers, but I wouldn't speak French to the white-collar, because I was never secure with it. My mother used to get mad at that. I went to French school right up till high school. I went to the convent, but I lost it all completely. Married an Anglophone. I never kept it up. Canada is built of all kinds of languages, and Mr. Trudeau made it English-French, French-English. And I think it's important that all of the children today, if they're from a French family, they'd go to an English school, French school. But it's a little better. Like my son can speak both languages, my grandson can speak both languages, and that's perfect. I was blessed. I lived in a small town. Aylmer we knew everybody. There was no difference in languages. I would go down to the rink we had was an open air rink. I would go down with all these people who spoke mostly French. And I had I went to a French school. So I would be speaking French with them, but there was one friend, Anne Terrien, her father was mayor of Aylmer, and was fluent like my mother. And she would always translate what was said so that I wouldn't miss anything. She'd tell me in English. But it was just, neighbors were like brothers and sisters. I mean, we just had a perfect town. Today, I'm glad I'm 80. I still live in the same house, 58 years. My husband and I bought after we were married 2 years. I still know a lot of people and make it my way to know more. But Aylmer's too big for me now. Mm-hmm. It's not the Aylmer that I came from. Mm-hmm. But I still love Aylmer. The worst thing that ever happened to me is when Aylmer joined Gatineau. I have nothing against Gatineau, but we lost our identity. But I still love Aylmer, and I still work hard for it. I think I'm one of the busiest volunteers still. I have an answering service on my telephone because I can't keep up with the telephone calls. It's either something, somebody wants something, or something like this. You phoned and I wrote you a book.